Hi, this is Pete Ekman with the RoboZone podcast. This is our second podcast for this week because we're catching up because I was sick for a little while. But we are post week two. I have two champs with me here, so we'll get to some introductions. Ed, you're first.
Hi, I'm Ed Wynn. I'm head coach of the ElectroEagles out of Heartland, team 3536.
And winner of,
We just
Um,
got back from Mount Pleasant.
okay, Mount Pleasant win. And no other than Corey. Corey, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Corey Walters. I'm the drive coach and lead mentor for Strike Force 2767, and we are the recent winner of the St. Joseph District.
And the two-time. I have to say two-time because I've said it every time I've had Corey on here is two-time world champion Corey Walters.
Yep.
Anyways, I will get a text from Kyle at some point from 27.
Fine.
Anyways, post week two, you guys have won some stuff. I got to have the highest score at St. Joe's with Corey for a little while. We call it the six, right? Call it the six, getting a six, which was the highlight of our team's weekend, which was great. And we'll talk about that. But welcome aboard. Thank you guys for coming on board. Congratulations again. Ed, tell us what I've had you on the podcast many times, but I
Mhm.
haven't had you on yet this year. So tell us what you thought about Reefscape so far, and then let's go right into your first event, which was Mount Clemens.
Um, well, the game is not easy by any shake of the stick. Um, but probably all of January, we were completely and utterly overthinking it. We were discussing manual alignment strategies, assisted, sensor-based alignment strategies. And once we finally got the robot together to the point where we could try to score on the reef, it wasn't anywhere near as hard as we thought it was. Now that said, it's very hard to do consistently over and over and over really fast. But like we were super worried that we wouldn't even be able to get it up there. So that was kind of a relief. Because if it had been really hard, I do not think we would have done as well.
Okay.
So, but this whole layout, like trying to do a fast auto, that just sucks. I've heard a couple people say that like this is the most precise auto placement kind of thing that we've had to do in a while, and they are not wrong. So we have spent a lot of time just tweaking and trying this and trying that, and it was a long road, but it eventually it paid off, and I'm pleasantly surprised it actually worked pretty well.
Nail biter for your first. I was watching your finals while I was driving. Well, actually, my wife was
Yeah,
watching. I was listening while I was driving, but I saw that first auto in round one. Was it the first one you lost? You're right.
yeah. Our,
Yep.
our alliance partner, Evil Empire, dropped a coral in their robot,
Yeah.
so they could only score balls, which they did great, but
But
I was like,
your
whoop.
auto missed the first time, and then you dialed it in for the second and third time. I watched
Yeah.
that. It was pretty
So
awesome.
it well, I'd like to say we dialed it in, but that was just kind of the variability that the auto had. So every
Okay.
every time we tweaked it a little, we made it worse. So we kind of went back to what we had, and more often than not, it hit.
Okay. Well,
So
it's the FRC gods that awarded you hitting those and then taking home a blue banner. So
yeah.
congratulations. All right, Corey. I've had you on the podcast this year, right at the beginning. So has your opinion of Reefscape changed?
Yeah, it sucks more. Um, uh,
Okay.
Doing it behind the glass, uh, really hard because you are trying to communicate with your drive team what to do and where to score. And you have, what is it, like 50 places you can go and score things. So it's really hard to communicate what to do where quickly without bogging things down. So most of the time, I didn't do the normal role of like coaching where to score. I'm just looking at like a macro level of like we got to focus on level four, level three, level two. And my operator essentially manages the reef and where they're going to go score.
Okay.
I need to communicate it. I'm too slow. My driver's already in place, ready to score because the cycles are so fast, right? 6 second cycles. So that just changes my role on it, where I'm not really dictating where to go as long as we dictate what level we need to go to. So we have what's called value, scoring for value, and then scoring for ranking points. Like we did in our 6 point, right? We did ranking points. And there's other times you gotta score for value and just get a high score. So it's like dancing with the devil. Do I go in and just max out my score, or do I go in trying to get ranking points and risk losing? Like, how close can I get the match and still get this and still get that? So tough.
So, Ed, how was the field at Mount Clemens? I know what the field was like with Corey at St. Joe, but what was the field like at Mount Clemens? Was there a lot of climbers? Was it a really
Um,
high level of competition, or was it kind of everyone kind of learning? What was
the
it like?
so I went to Milford, it's just down the road for me, to kind of check it out. And the thing that I kind of came away from is that you only really had two tiers. You had the robots that were pretty good and the robots that were worse, and there was nothing in the middle. And Mount Pleasant was the same way.
Okay.
Is that there were a bunch of good bots there. But there was a huge kind of step down between the two tiers. And I mean, when it came to finals, you could really tell, like once we had made our first robot pick, like everybody was scrambling trying to like find the best of what was left, and it was really hard.
Yep.
And I don't know if something's in the water, pardon the pun. But that kind of seems what a bunch of tournaments are like this year. So, I mean, I watched some of Kettering and some of Ferndale, and that seemed more even, like, a
Okay.
better, low to high. But a lot of other tournaments seem to have this breakdown with nothing in the middle.
Corey, what did you think St. Joe?
It didn't matter who you played against. Like, it doesn't matter if I was playing against the Tech Vikes and Pi High or Madawan and Perry. It didn't matter because you never interacted with them, right? You just got to play your game, put up your points, do your thing. The only thing you interact with is the defensive bot they send your way. Otherwise, you have zero interaction with the other guys, right? So it doesn't matter who you play against. It's what you, as either a duo, if you're doing a 2v1, or as a three pair, or three of you, if you're doing three offense, no defenders. So yeah, it just kind of is to Ed's point is that spreads the gap even more because it doesn't matter who you play against because you're going to do what you've been doing, scoring high, doing well, and it doesn't matter who you play against as long as you're able to execute on your machine.
Right. Right. Doing
Mhm.
your job. You're one of the alliance partners, but as long as you do your job, that's all you can do,
Right.
right?
I mean, you
So,
can't affect it in any way. Last year, you could do picks, you could try hitting him when the speaker was on. This year's game, there's zero interaction, right? Like I'm like me and we'll say Tech Vikes or we'll our bumpers will never touch the entire season, right? Because I'm never going to go over there and they're never going to come by me.
don't give them a reason to, Corey. They may watch this. We're like, oh, you guys think we're not going to touch your, we're playing
Well,
them in week 5. So
yeah, I mean, you get to states and like
yeah.
something bad happens, but like you just aren't. You just aren't
Okay.
interacting.
So Ed, I know me and Corey played together, so I know a lot happened at St. Joe. Did you guys have a lot of robots that could put the algae into the barge at your event?
No, there were a couple.
Okay.
And that was actually something we looked for when we picked, just to complement scoring coral, but there were not a lot. Most of the coral and sorry, most of the algae that ended up in the barge was thrown there by the human player.
Okay. Did you have a lot of cooperation running at that event?
Almost none.
Okay.
So
Okay.
um, I think I saw three matches, and one of them, um, one alliance put it in both sides because they wanted the point, so they did it for the other alliance.
Interesting. I heard that was a thing, but I didn't see it at our event. But
Yeah,
and me and Corey actually talked about it before our first match together, if we were going to do that. I know that as a drive coach, I got asked at every round if we were going to do it or not.
yeah,
You did too, Corey. Did everyone ask you?
We asked others because we really wanted the
right,
co-op, the tiebreaker, but you'd run into a situation at these districts where you might have all coral robots on the other side. So you go over there and you ask them, hey, can you guys do a co-op? And you look at all the robots and they're physically not able to do it.
right.
Like even if they wanted to, they couldn't. So I think we forced it one time and we tried two other times to make the co-op happen because the same thing as like dancing with the devil situations. Like if I can get 15 coral on the reef, I could just force co-op rather than do a bunch of level one stuff. And then I get my co-op tiebreaker and I get the ranking point. So it's what you have to do to get things done.
Right. What about climbing at your event, Ed? Were there a lot of climbing
Um,
robots, shallow or deep?
so I didn't think so. Um, I remember watching, thinking almost no one's climbing, and then in finals there were a ton of climbers. So I think it's one of those cases where robots were still being worked on. Especially like during the first day in qualifiers, I would have said there were only two or three, but
Okay.
clearly there was probably eight or nine at least by the time finals rolled around. Which I mean, they couldn't all do deep. Some of them are shallow, but I mean, it made a big difference. So yeah, there was.
Corey, how about at ours? I mean, I thought I saw maybe like 8 robots that could actually climb.
I think there was more that were able to, but weren't successfully able to do it. Like
Okay.
Was able to, but didn't. TechFlex was able to, but had a difficult time doing it. So I think teams are capable, and there's probably I think same thing as Ed, like maybe 8 or 9 teams that could actually efficiently do it. And it definitely made a difference, like the ranking point. Like the Joes caught up with us pretty significantly Saturday morning in the ranking because we missed a few of our climbs in the morning, which we later solved, but learned from it. But yeah, it made I mean they caught up to us. So yeah, they're out there. I think when you get to states, you have a lot more because the fields are deeper.
Mhm.
But
And people can correct things, right? You're talking about states being week 6. We're going into week 3, so they still have some time to work on those things.
yeah,
We Corey knows, Ed, we didn't climb once. We have a climber, but we have some challenges with the chain interacting with the chain when we're climbing. So we decided to keep scoring because we could do all the coral. We didn't have a single match where every single piece of coral was covered, so we just kept cycling. It was easier for us to do that, and we could score more that way than try to go climb and have it impede. So that's what we did. Um, so I don't know
Yeah.
if that was a lot of robots at your account that did that.
Um, well, I mean, the big thing was the ranking point, right? You
Right.
only needed one robot to do a deep hang and then a part.
hmm
So if our alliance had one, then everyone else just kept scoring and then just zoomed over at the last minute.
Here's another one for you, Ed. Did you see a lot of robots beached at your event? And by beached, I mean go up on a ball and get caught.
There were a couple,
Okay,
and so Brighton was actually there, and they took a
okay,
novel approach. They beached themselves, and then decided since one of their wheels was touching a ball, they would get through the ball. So they just stick forward, blew a hole in the ball, and they were out.
and did they get penalized for doing so?
They did not. They got yelled at, but they didn't actually get penalized for it. But
Interesting.
I thought that was, I mean, you get away with it once, right? It was a bold play.
you know,
But I there was probably four or five good ramps on the balls.
Okay,
The one thing that I noticed at our field, if you would hit a ball, it would just kind of bounce away. And I don't know if it was like the new carpet or the balls were a little tackier, but at Mount Pleasant, if you hit a ball, it was like 50-50 whether it was going away or you were going over it.
okay,
And then in practice matches Friday night, like there were a bunch of robots that went up on balls. And then you could just tell on Saturday, everybody was being cautious and staying away from them.
okay, okay. So they're not going as fast. They're just being cautious.
Right. And then one of the things we did when we wanted to clear the reef, we'd pick up the balls and chuck them on the other side because
Okay.
we knew that they were a hazard.
Oh, so interesting. I
Yeah.
okay, novel idea. We'll see how
It
that one plays out.
it slowed them down more than we thought the points we'd get from scoring them were worth.
Okay. So
And
the human player throwing them over the
no, just our
barge or
robot. We
oh,
we'd score a coral, we'd grab a ball and just spin and chuck and then go grab another coral.
okay. Interesting. Interesting. That's a different play. Corey, do you think that's going to work going forward? Did you just steal that one?
I
I don't
think you
know.
have to be very careful, Ed, in how you word it. because you can't use game pieces to make the game harder for your opponents. So the political answer was that you took the algae and you put it into the center of the arena, and where it went was where it went.
Yes.
Yeah.
Corey has aspirations to be political. He's going to run for Congress at some point in his career.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is a great answer.
that's where they went.
He's a consultant now, so that's consultant speak. That was really good, Corey. I will.
Yeah.
I'll give you
So,
that
so
one.
whenever we were asked, we just said we were clearing the reef.
Right. We were
Gotcha.
just clearing the algae
Yes.
and
Yeah.
they're bouncy and they get around, right? What was
So,
the question, Pete?
what did you say?
I don't know. What was your question? That wasn't your
Oh
question.
no, I haven't got to a question yet. I was
Oh,
talking about your political career and how I'm going to put
oh
money
yeah,
into
yeah.
your fund. Anyways, the one thing that was really interesting, my human player, and human players are very important this year because if you
Mhm.
can't put the coral in place, or you are not paying attention, you can't win things. So that's one piece. My human player came up to me after a robot came and played defense on us, and we'll get to the defense thing, and said, "Hey, coach, if a robot's come in and play defense, can I just put coral down? And if it gets into the robot, then, it happens." And I said, don't do that, because I don't want to be blamed for it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I mean, that is a strategy. I mean, I'm not
It's funny
saying
you say that because I got asked the exact same thing.
really. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was hey, can we do this? And I
If
said, well, you could accidentally do it once, but that's probably all you're going to get away with.
Yeah.
right. Was there a lot of defense? So while we're on the subject, Ed, was there a
Yeah.
lot of defense at Mount Clemens?
Not really.
Okay.
So um, Brighton obviously was there, and they were probably the best defense bot.
Okay.
Because they were just, I mean, they had Jake from a couple of years ago who won Worlds for him. So
Hmm.
he was their drive coach, and he was just merciless. So they like knew where to go, they knew how to hit.
Okay.
But outside of that, there were occasionally defense bots, but they were not very effective. They were
Okay.
just kind of driving around trying to get in the way, but mostly they cause penalties because you can't see on the far side.
Right. Or they're not blocking a station, they're following a robot, which they should never do.
Right.
Right. Corey, you had more defense played on you. You and the Joes had more defense played on you two than I saw anyone else on the comp. Am I correct?
I had defense in the first qualification round. Like, from the very first one, there was
It's a sign of respect.
yeah, it's a yellow robot. We expect it to come. Um, you need to make sure, like, yeah, there is defense. Like it came. Definitely by far like the best defender we ran into was Lancebots. Like
Lights out. Lights out, best
100%.
one there.
The
And they
hardest one we had to go against.
hitting hard. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
hard.
That positioning was good. The robot, weight was there. They were smart with what they were doing. We eventually found some tricks on what we can do to mitigate with the defender. So like we appreciate it coming because we learn from it and we're like,
Sure.
okay, this is how we deal with it in the future. How do we manage it as an alliance or as an individual robot? But there was times we had a defender and they weren't phasing us, and then we ran into Lancebots, and it's like in the qual match on Saturday morning, it's like, all right, this is me serious, and they got back down to probably one of the top, 6 robots in our field on the Alliance 3, and it's like, yeah, it's like I don't know.
They took us out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I
We're-
mean, they were hitting so hard that the driver station wall was vibrating. I'm like, are we playing last year's Crescendo? Because I remember that really hard.
Mhm.
Well, the actual last couple years.
Mhm.
Um, that's a Robo Jacket joke because they would slam into that feeder station a couple years ago really hard. So in fact, they dented the field, and my co-coach repaired that field because she owns the machine shop that does work for First. So I was like, wow, it blew it 4 inches off. That's how hard they were hitting with that robot. So
So at Mount Pleasant, there was one hit on the driver station wall so hard it knocked the match clock off
interesting.
from a defender. Just balls missed the robot and hit the wall.
So Ed, what was something that you in your first event, and I've asked this of everyone that's played so far, what is one thing that you saw at your event that you didn't account for that you went, huh, and we didn't think about that? Is there anything?
Um, we did not prepare enough for having coral on the ground where we couldn't see it. Um, The biggie that got us was right in front of the source, so
Okay.
we couldn't get close enough to it. But then on the back side of the reef, also coral back there. So we didn't have a camera facing down. So we
Okay.
had multiple April tag cameras. We had a bunch of stuff on the robot to help. Um, but we assumed that like if coral was going to fall, it would bounce, it wouldn't be there, and it kept falling straight down, so we couldn't get close enough. That's something we're working. Those are our two big things. We got to be able to load from the source with something in the way, and we got to be able to figure out on the backside of the reef why we can't get close.
Gotcha. What about you, Corey? Was there something that you saw that you guys didn't account for?
Yes. So Thursday for us is practice. So we load in Thursday, we practice Thursday. We have a cage at home that we climbed on, but we never powder coated it. Boy, it's powder coated now. Tell you that. Uh that the powder coat made it a lot more slippery. So we're going to go climb on our
Mm.
practice matches. Couldn't climb. Cage was slipping right out of our hooks, out of our claws. We go to the practice field and they have like a spray painted one, and then the Joes had a powder coated cage that we practiced on. And we also had to set up in our pit so we could climb in our pit if we needed to. So we practiced it in our pit. And yeah, the powder coat cage is totally different than just a regular steel cage that's welded. And boy, we learned that, but we adjusted quickly and got it working. And tonight they're at the build space, getting it working better.
Okay.
So yeah, powder coat cage, big different than non-powder coated cage.
Yes. The only thing that I saw that I didn't expect, and this was just venue specific, and this is not a knock on St. Joe's, but the one thing as a drive coach, I'm always used to seeing a screen where I can see what the score is. And at St. Joe, there was nothing that you could see because at the if the bleachers like this, right, for the audience, the two big jumbotrons, whatever you want to call them, were facing the audience.
Mhm.
So as me and Corey are coaching from the backside of the driver's station, there is no way to know who's winning. There's nothing.
Oh
You
man.
don't, you don't just count the other reef and manually add it up in your head.
Come on, you just said you couldn't keep up with everything as the drive coach.
I
There's
don't
no
gotta manage
way.
where things are going, so I got time to do math.
Yeah,
Can't,
math's hard on the
math's
fly.
hard.
Go figure.
Can't
But
count.
so I did talk to Brett, who is the event coordinator, and I said, "Hey, Brett, thanks for running a great competition. The ramp wasn't a big deal. That Corey reminded me I got a good workout that day. My arms are still sore from pushing up the ramp." I said, "But the only thing as a drive coach, this is my first time here, is I don't know who's winning. And as a coach, a drive coach, it's hard to know if we need an extra coral, if we need to put one extra on the top of L4 to make up that gap." And he said he would take it and they would have promised me they would have them next year. So
Oop.
um, I thought
Yeah,
St. Joe was great. That was our first time here. I really enjoyed that competition. I really enjoyed the teams that were there. It was a very well run comp. So
that would be hard because
yep,
I mean, our our number one concern was if we have a mechanical failure, we're going to tank. So if we were ahead, we dialed it back a little. I mean, we're still trying to get the rank points and stuff, but
yep,
you don't, if we're down by one, it's like, no, go, 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 go.
sure,
You
yep.
don't know that.
How was so we're gonna throw Mark Founts under the bus because he was your event coordinator
He
for
was. He
your event.
was he
How
was
did it run?
excellent.
His first time.
It was good. He did a great job. He had a bunch of help. The thing that I really appreciated is so Friday night during setup,
Hmm.
he had somebody going around with a box of candy, just offering it to people and being like, "How was your day? Will this make it better? Have some candy." And like everyone was happy to be there. But no, he ran a really tight ship. It was good.
Got it. Mark was the Easter Bunny of Mount Clemens comp. Got it.
Yeah. Who doesn't like free candy?
Yeah, I
Given to you
love
by
it.
strangers.
I don't like it too much anymore because I'm just trying to not consume all those empty calories.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah, I did eat and drink during this. This is the first comp where I made sure I had water as I was, consuming it. I was solely focused and then eating. So, it
yeah,
was good stuff. Even the drive team said, "Coach, you need to eat something."
you,
So,
you got to stay hydrated.
yeah, very much so. Very
We
much
we
so.
actually had the head ref came out and was talking to the drive teams and basically said, "Does everyone have a water bottle? You got to stay hydrated."
Yeah.
I thought was a nice touch.
It was. It was. Well, I'm going to we went past 15 minutes, so my wife won the bet. And she'll gloat for a little while. As she said
You.
she said she was gonna come in here as I was recording and say to you guys, Pete said it was only gonna be 15 minutes. So we went past that. But we haven't hit 30, so I'm gonna make sure I end it before 30.
Here you go.
There you go. Okay, so Ed, where are you going next? What's your second event?
We are going to Mason week 4.
Okay. Oh, that's like many states.
Yeah.
Uh,
Are
Corey,
they,
go ahead.
sorry, Pete.
No, go ahead. What were you
No, I
saying?
thought Joe's are going to like they're not going there. They're going somewhere else.
Okay.
We're leaving, I think.
Where are you going, Corey?
We are going to West Michigan.
I heard that one's gonna be very competitive.
It is, but like I said earlier, it doesn't matter who you play against. It only matters who you play with. So, like, I went through it and I thought I knew all the teams that were there, and then I
Mhm.
realized that like Parrot Robotics is going there too. I'm like, oh, because they were really good at St. Joe, and now they're there too. And it's like, but yeah,
Talk,
it's gonna be fun.
talk about a 7,000 series team that's only been doing this for, yeah, we're talking maybe 6 years. This is probably their 6th year because I started mine when they started theirs with the fast team, and they were fast, man. That guy was fast. I'm talking about like lightning fast from last year, and he was just driving the wheels off that thing. So, and then you got to watch batteries because batteries can go bad,
Oh
especially
yeah.
in finals, right? You
You're
just
not pushing the batteries that hard in this game.
well,
Not like last year.
they had a short or a bad battery or something was wrong in that last match, man. I'm sure they'll iron it out and get ready for West Michigan. So I want to thank you guys again. Corey's got a sleeping daughter. Thank God she went to bed so he could be here. So we're gonna thank her. I'll get her a stuffed bunny or something next time I see her and say thank you.
Yeah.
She'll have no idea what I'm talking about, but kids like bunnies. So, um, Ed, announce as you go out. Please tell us again who you are and how we can follow the team.
Um, wow, that's a great question.
You're the
Hi,
head
I'm
mentor.
Edwin, head coach of 3536, the ElectroEagles. We have an Instagram, and I am ashamed to say that we have students running it, and I don't know what it is.
Interesting. Okay.
Um,
One last thing, Ed. I've been asking people what is going to be the new record for Michigan? What's the highest score we're going to see in a single elimination? No penalty points. What's it going to be?
so for this week or
No, for the
season?
entire season
Oh man,
in Michigan.
that's 250,
Oh, okay.
maybe?
That's conservative. The team I had last night said 295.
That I would like to watch that match.
I would too. We're going to see it. It's going to happen probably at States, I'm betting.
Oh,
So.
there'll be some good stuff there.
All right, Corey, tell us who you are, how we follow the team, and your prediction for the highest score of Michigan's matches.
My name is Corey Walters. I'm the drive coach and lead mentor for Strikeforce. You can follow us on all your social media followings that you like. We're there on all of them. Go check them out. Google will get you pretty far. Um, High score for in Michigan. You talking Michigan not including off-season events? Because like if you don't count Kettering All-Star,
Okay.
they do it again. If Creighton don't,
I will correct myself and say this season, in season, prior to Michigan State champs.
all
So
right.
weeks 1 through 5,
Oh, prior to MSC.
prior to
Uh,
MSC.
Oh, so that's different than we asked Ed because you told Ed was thinking
He's
250.
thinking he's gonna rephrase
well,
his remark.
no,
What's
no.
yours?
The reason that I kind of went low is when you have good defense, it lowers the scores.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that as the season goes on, the top players will be defended against a little better, and it'll be harder to get a higher score. So we're going to top out early.
Okay.
Now, that might be crap, but
Stick into your 250 then.
well, if I'm wrong low, and everyone's happy.
Okay. Corey, what's your prediction?
If you're not including MSC, I think you're going to be around 230.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see who's no one did the prices right and went 251. So the team yesterday, each kid was one-upping them each other. They're doing like 251, 250, I call it 252. So, Bob Barker is he's got the thumbs up from up in the heavens. But I want to thank you guys for coming on board again tonight. And hopefully, I wish you guys all the luck. But congratulations for your first wins this season.
Cool. Thanks, Pete.